What's going on, everybody? We are live. It is Saturday Nights Live. You're stuck with me again, unfortunately, or fortunately. I guess depends on your personal preferences. We are going to chat for about an hour about Mythic Legions. We are going to chat a little bit about Cosmic Legions. I have the great pleasure of having a guest co-host tonight. The one, the only, Austin. How's it going, buddy?
Good. How are you?
I'm pretty tired. I'm not gonna lie. I was working in the garage, reorganizing my garage all day today to build up a nice. I had to create some space. I got a brand new Dio building space, and I'm very excited about it.
Oh, great.
I'll probably post about it later, but
That's awesome.
that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about Legions. We'll talk about the mythic version of Legions. We'll talk about the cosmic version of Legions, and so on and so forth. But what's going on? It's pretty dark there. It's pretty dark here. It's nights. It's the Saturday nights aspect.
Saturday night. Yeah, I got some lights here on my shelf I can turn on, but it'll be blinding at that point, so better keep it dark.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Kelly says, all aboard that hype train. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think he's probably referring to Cosmic Legions. Um, Also, Kelly, referring specifically to you. OMG, it's Austin. Um, Austin, you post a lot in the group. You post some great photographs. How'd you get into photography?
Um, Thank you, first of all. But it, honestly, it was the pandemic was the big thing. Before the pandemic, I actually wasn't super into toy collecting. My main thing was Warhammer, like the miniatures and
Okay, yeah, yeah.
the playing, the painting, and all that. Pandemic happened. You couldn't play with anyone, so just got super demotivated there. Started collecting toys again because it was something I kind of go and do on my own. After collecting so many, felt kind of guilty just putting them on the shelf and leaving them there forever. And yeah, and I just discovered toy photography. Looked it up, just found people's Instagrams and all that, and went, wow, this is really cool. I'll give it a try. And it has snowballed uncontrollably since.
We won't bore people with the details. As somebody that used to be into photography and you who's into photography now, we were talking about all the lenses that you're getting and different cameras and stuff like that. Um, what's your favorite? What's your favorite like line to shoot?
My favorite line, it's a toss up between Mezco figures and Mythic Legions. The reason for that is because Mezco, I think, is excellent for shooting indoors because you got all the fabric and all that on them. So, you can't throw them in the puddle. It'll just turn out bad. But the
Right.
Mythic Legions, on the other hand, you can rough around a bit more, and they're fantastic for outdoor photography, especially here in BC, where it's nothing but wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, find a lake, find a river, find forest, whatever, grab some Mythic Legions, you're good to take a shot.
Yeah, I'm just scrolling through your Instagram feed here. There's a shot like there's shots like this one, or this is a behind the scenes, right? Just
Yeah.
out in nature. You have a bunch of those shots. There's another one of you just like in a river kind of thing. Like that's how far, what's the furthest you've ever sort of gone to go out and get a shot?
Um, Not super far. I can't remember the name of the place, but it's halfway between my hometown and the next city over. You turn off on a dirt road and you find a sketchy place to park, and you walk down this big hill, and eventually you find a river. That's probably the furthest I've ever gone. I took my Atomon pictures then, and that was, I think, one of the first times I ever used a DSLR camera. I see you brought up the Silverhorn Sentry picture. Believe it or not, that's just my backyard.
That I My yard is, I live on an orchard, so my yard is a little bit more expansive,
Yeah.
but yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, in BC, the scale is different. You're on Vancouver Island. You got so much wilderness around you, so much
Yeah.
nature. Very a lot more rain there than I get here in Kelowna. So I have a lot of dry. I have a lot of rocks and browns and grays and things like that. But you have a lot of green there, which works so well for this stuff.
Oh, yeah, it's
Uh,
fantastic.
yeah. Now, how did you get into Legions then?
So it started off, it was something my brother was looking at, but the reason why he was looking at it was because Kelly kept talking about it. And I don't know how Kelly discovered it. Maybe it's through a mutual friend. Maybe he found it online on a Facebook group. I'm not sure. But he talked to Tyler about it, and Tyler started looking at this stuff. I went, huh, it's pretty cool. And then he showed it to me. I went, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. And so we decided, yeah, we'll start collecting these. And it started off as we'll pick a faction and focus on that, and just pick and choose figures. And again, snowballed out of control. Now I got 3 shelves full of legions behind me from all the different factions. And yeah, so Kelly's made my life better, also kind of ruined it.
Well, yeah, I mean, Legions by way of Kelly, I think, is probably more accurate. But
Yeah.
Now, so you got into photography first and then Legions sort of as a result? Like, were you looking for another line to photograph, or was it just like you were getting into toys? Like, what's the kind of timeline there?
So years before the pandemic, I was collecting toys. My main lines back in the day were Marvel Universe, the 3 3/4 inch figures, and Marvel Legends. I can't remember when exactly. I think it might have been when I went to university. I stopped collecting. Stopped collecting for years and years and years. And again, back to pandemic happened, need a new hobby. I think in terms of photography and Mythic Legions, I couldn't even tell you which came first because they were way close to one another. Um, Trying to think. I think I started collecting Mythic Legions in either October or November of 2020, so it's only been a couple years, and that's roughly when I got and really into toy photography as well.
And which faction did you start with? You said you started with a faction.
Yep, and I don't think you're going to like the faction,
I feel
but
like
my
I know what the answer is.
congregation of Necronomicon was my first faction. Yep.
Fair enough. Different people have different tastes. I get it.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I'm one of those people. I rave about the skeletons. I love them, and when I hear like you don't care for them, I go, "What are you thinking? They're so cool."
It, it's one of those things. Look, you started with Necronominus. I started very recently, but sort of I had been paying attention for years, and sort of every time I saw a new release from Mythic Legions, I would see another, like, one more character that was like really really cool. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And like the Advent of Decay Kickstarter, I remember when that thing came out, and I was sort of all in on Lego at that point. I hadn't really, like, these shelves behind me. Um, you'd never believe, but when this room was sort of put together and all these shelves were put up, it was all full of Lego. Like, all the shelves were full of Lego, primarily Star Wars Lego, um, which I'll probably reference again when we start talking about Cosmic Legions. But the whole room was Lego. The problem with Lego is that all the studs, like all the texture on Lego is really hard to dust.
Oh, I can imagine.
So it started coming down. Marvel Legends started going up. Some vintage GI Joe stuff, a couple Transformers here and there, a couple things from my childhood. And it was only very recently that I more or less got, in the same way that you did, right? Like, I almost got bullied into Mythic Legions in a way. It was kind of like, well, get one, get two, see what you think. Put them on the shelf, pose them up, see what you think. And now I'm reorganizing my garage to build dials to display more figures. What was but for me it was Xylonis Flock from the start. Like, well, I shouldn't say that because I didn't know anything about the factions, but it was like Balam, Thistlethorn, and Faunus were the first three that I saw that I was just like, man, those are like wild looking figures. Um, I've said this before, the more sort of fantastic, the better in a
Yeah.
lot of ways, if that makes sense. And for me, the skeletons and the knights are less fantastical, I guess. So
Yeah,
maybe
fair
that's
enough.
that being said, I mean, I got I got four of them on my shelf. I got four skeletons on my shelf. Anyway, speaking of different factions, speaking of sort of all that kind of stuff, um, All Stars 5, voting is winding down. Did you vote for the skeletons?
Yeah, I voted for Ilgar for one of them. I still think out of all the skeletons, him and Scaphoid are the two coolest looking ones.
Okay. I won't
Um,
disagree with that.
Yeah, it's like Scaphoid, obviously the very vibrant green and dark purple is just a good contrast. Um,
Yeah,
but with Ilgar, he actually looks like and how an undead skeleton you would think would look. All of his armor's all rusted and
sure.
oxidized and all that. It's a good look. Plus the beard. The beard's just a nice touch.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, if we get another two skeletons and another figure, and then in like two waves, two all-star waves in a row, that's it kills me that we're gonna have so many skeletons available and we're not gonna have other figures. Like Azar. I don't have Zazar.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna order as a Hazar. I haven't. So I don't need an Azar. But I feel terrible for the guys that have Zazar. Tyler, I know you're out there. Do you have Zazar?
I
I
have
know
Xavier.
you have Zazar.
Yeah, yeah.
Does
I have
Tyler have
him.
Zazar?
Uh, Tyler, I don't think has Zazar. I think
Oh,
he
okay.
he actually voted for it just because he's the one I talk to all the time, right? And I'm sitting there going, I swear Mazar doesn't win. I swear.
You know what? It's tough because like that's if you don't have all the skeletons, I feel like it's not the end of the world. But I feel like Azar, if you've got Zazar and you've got Azahazar on pre-order,
Yeah.
that carrot just dangling that out in front of people is just terrible.
Oh, it's horrible. Like I hate paying aftermarket. I understand prices go up. If I have to spend $100 for a figure, no big deal. But with the way the Canadian dollar is, I've seen Azar go for like 400, 450, which that's just insane. But I'm sitting there going like, "Ugh, I'll have to do it though."
Will Now here's the big question, right? Because that's how I feel about the Elf Ranger. Now the Elf Ranger is nowhere near where Azar is on the aftermarket.
Yeah.
But if the Elf Ranger doesn't win, like I've been holding out on trying to grab an Elf Ranger for that reason, because there's still the slim, the 2.0 chance that we're gonna see an Elf Ranger
Yeah.
in the All Stars wave. Are you holding out, and then as soon as they announce the winners, are you going out there and you're hunting one down, or
I'm
will you wait?
I'll probably start hunting. Not necessarily purchase, but like I'll browse online, keep an eye on the Cabal, check eBay, make like it's so weird to say, but if I can find one for $300, that's a win.
I mean, it's crazy, but I
It
mean, yeah.
is. But
Um,
he was one of the three big aftermarket figures that I've been wanting. I've got the other two already, which was Vorgus Vermilius and Atlas. And so he's like the last one to complete my Grail Trinity, essentially.
right.
So if he gone to All Stars, well, that just saves me so much trouble.
I I guess in that way, I'm very lucky with the figures that sort of were the top of my list. Um, I sort of had three at the top of my list, and then there was sort of four, you know, plus and at the top of my list was Thistlethorn, Balam, Elf Ranger is my third. So like worst case scenario, if I have to go get one of those, it's still not gonna be, you know, Vorgus prices is still not gonna be Azar prices. So I guess I'm lucky in that way. I guess
I,
it's great that my tastes don't line up with most people's tastes.
and I will, admittedly, and the same goes for Silverhorn Sentry. If him or even both, I know a lot of people would be upset if two Cyclonus Flock figures got in, but at least with builders, you can get them through Mike at retail. You can buy four or five and not look back, which is pretty awesome.
Yes. And it's you bring up Mike. I should be bringing up Mike. Great dude, great, very, very helpful. He and I talk all the time, and he and I are kind of in a similar situation where like he started selling legions before he started collecting legions. So he and a few other people, you know who you are if you're watching or watching this after, you know who you are. They kind of bullied me into buying them. And then I, in turn, kind of bullied Mike into starting to open some of his figures. I said, man, it's not the same. If you're just collecting boxes, don't even bother. Don't bother. Like, you got them in hand, great. Now move on, sell them off because it doesn't matter. It's take a picture of it and it's the exact same thing. So he started opening his as a result of sort of me getting them and starting to open mine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I know. I can't remember when I was talking to him about it, and I think he got like, oh, maybe it was All Stars 4 when he got might got a shipment, and I was talking to him about it. He goes, "Yeah, these are really cool. I might have to actually collect these."
yeah.
You don't already collect them?
No, Mike was first, like first and foremost, Mike is a Ninja Turtles guy.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I know.
he gets
Big
all
on
the
Super Seven and
turtles.
all that.
Yeah, yeah, and he's got like all the Super 7 ones and all the NECA ones and now like all the Playmates ones that are like the reissues and all that kind of stuff. Um and I'm always telling him, man, you got to open them. I mean, they're toys. These are I say it all the time. I say it all the time in the GI Joe group that I do videos for and that I'm an admin for. I don't collect collectibles. I'm not that guy. I'm just a guy that buys a lot of toys and I open them and I play with them and I pose them and they fall off the shelf and I don't get upset about it. And it's just that's toys, man. They get you get paint rubbed. They should be worn out. Like when I'm done with them, when I move on, which hopefully is not for a very long time. I hope that all of my Mythic Legions have paint rub. Like in the way that all my toys from the 80s had paint rub and stuff like that. Like that's
Yeah.
my dream. Because if they don't, then it's just like, I mean, they sat on a shelf forever. And if they sit on a shelf, man, there's a lot of money back here, like to
Yep.
just sit on a shelf. So, um, Charlie says, let me tell you, the skeletons are fantastic due to how well they can be used as baddies for other lines. I don't disagree with that. I've never said that the skeletons are not good figures. I'm just less interested in them than I am in other figures. And Greg said, true, Charlie, I use them often, or at least their heads.
And so many of them even come with just extra heads that are like Tibius has a plain head that I'm never going to put on him. So it's just a great accessory to throw on a diorama.
Tibius has a spare head. Scaphoid comes with a spare head. Malleus comes with a spare head. Hagnon comes with 2 spare heads because he's now I'm going to get this wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was a Leodicius knight before he was killed and then became a ghost and was like tied to Necronominus.
Order of
And Ghostly,
Aetherion, I believe.
what's that?
He was Order of Aetherion when he was killed.
That makes more sense. Now that I think of it, Necronominus, Aetherion, that makes a lot more sense. So he has a knight helmet as well as a skeleton helmet, as well as the unique head that he comes with the sort of painted eyes. That head is really fantastic.
Hagnon was my first Mythic Legions figure.
What?
So he was my first. Him and Brother Mandibulus. I got them both from Big Bad Toy Store. And yeah, so he's an all-time favorite. Obvious bias, he's the first, so I gotta love him.
Right.
But to your point, yeah, like that one of a kind head sculpt still is awesome.
Yeah.
And it's funny. Actually, I brought it to the side here because I wanted to show it off. So this Hagnon was actually my first. Oh, there you go.
Hagnon test shot?
No, it's actually so my first ever Mythic Legions figure had a QC issue. It came with 2 left shoulder pads.
Okay.
So I emailed Big Bad Toy Store and said, hey, can I get a right shoulder pad? They said, actually, we'll just send you a whole new figure.
Okay.
So I got another Hagnon and I had this spare one going, what do I do with it? So I painted it up. if I can get the camera right. There we go. So yeah, it's all silver and all that. So
Why not?
technically, this custom here with his knight helmet and all that, this is my first Mythic Legions figure.
Oh man, that's a great way to have the ability to sort of mess around with one.
So when a lot of people were saying like, "Oh, it's great to customize," I can actually pick this up and go, "Yes, yes, it is."
Yes, it is. I've done Lazy Boy customs. You know, being sort of a GI Joe guy since I was a kid. Kit bashing was something that I always did. And with the classified line, the GI Joe classified line, heating them up and doing a pop and swap just came natural to me. And so that was a big part of the draw of Mythic Legions for me, was that people said they're so easy to customize. You know, they're because they reuse so many parts. It's incredibly easy to do customization.
Yeah,
and that really spoke to me. And sort of the more questions I kept looking for like a reason not to get into it, and people were like, no, every 1.0 body is interchangeable. You could pop the skeleton arms onto a knight, you could pop the orc arms onto a skeleton torso, like you can, you know, you do everything you want. And it was like, oh well, there's 1.0 and 2.0 and they're not interchangeable. And I was like, and that's a big deal to people? Like, that's the hang up. It did. That was the and you know, people are like, oh, 2.0 bodies are way harder to customize, and I'm like, really? Like, turn the temperature up on your kettle. Like, they're not that hard. They're not that hard. Sorry, I'm just trying to scroll through the comments here. Kelly's saying $400. No way. $399. Hell yeah.
that's probably how I'm going to look at Azar one day and go, "Oh, it's under 400."
Exactly. Or somebody will post it somewhere and you'll just be like, yeah, why not? I'm gonna pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Kelly, I'm the same. Kelly said I open them and toss out the packaging as soon as I leave the post office. I typically have them shipped to my house, so I don't have to be littering at the post office. I have the luxury of putting them in my recycling bin at home. Greg, I think, speaking about Mike, says being a seller of the stuff you collect, that has to be dangerous. Like being a diabetic working at a chocolate factory. Probably not wrong. The weird thing is, I know Mike well enough to know he and I chat so much that when he buys stuff that's like not from his store, I know about it. And he just buys weird stuff sometimes. The weirder things that he's sort of bought on a whim, he bought a bunch of the Super Mario stuff. I think he bought the Jack stuff.
Okay.
Mike, if you're watching, or if you watch this after the fact, please let me know if I'm sharing too many secrets here. He bought a bunch of that stuff one night just out of the blue. The other thing was he bought a whole bunch of the animated Batman stuff, but I can't remember which line it was from. But he bought like 4 or 5 figures, and he bought a Batmobile, and he just goes on these little like, it's wild, man. It's fun to watch though. He's probably doing the same thing watching me buy Legions or whatever brand.
Yeah, good comparison there.
It's probably the exact same thing. But Eddie, what's up, buddy? How was Eddie? Eddie couldn't do the video tonight because he had to go to Medieval Times.
Oh, cool.
I said that's a pretty valid reason. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty jealous. What else we got? Greg, yeah, I apologize, Greg. East Coast guys, yeah, it's a bit late. But I mean, hey, we're really, it's Saturday Nights Live. If you were staying up to watch Saturday Night Live, you'd still be up. What else we got? Oh, there you go. He commented there. Just got home from Medieval Times. We have a group text, and Eddie's in it, and he was just blasting us with like pictures and videos of Medieval Times. It was awesome.
That's probably. I don't have much of a bucket list, but that's probably one of the things on it. I would love to go to medieval times sometime.
I, so weird thing, when I've been to Las Vegas 3 times, and I went all 3 times as a minor. Like when I was a kid, I went with my family, and we stayed at Excalibur 2 of the 3 times. And we went. They have like I don't think it's called Medieval Times, but they have the exact same thing, and it was like so amazing. And like as a kid, when you're like walking into a hotel that has a drawbridge and a dragon, and it looks like a castle, and you're going and doing all this stuff, I like that's the kind of thing that cemented, my love for sort of this sort of like medieval fantasy kind of thing. And then you get older, and then Lord of the Rings, and then there's other TV shows and other movies and other kind of stuff like that, and it just it snowballs. But we're 30 minutes in and we haven't talked about anything.
Oh well, it happens.
I warned you. I did warn you. So oh yeah, this is that. So Eddie's other big thing is the Storm Mortal Kombat figures. I'm never going down that road. But Eddie's, the pictures that Eddie comes up with, Austin, you've seen them in the Canadian Imports group too.
Yeah.
Like, man, such great pictures, such great.
Because of him, I keep eyeing up Reptile now. I'm going, no, don't do it.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna do you a kindness, and I'm not gonna add you to that group chat, because the amount of times where people talk about things to the point where somebody goes, okay, fine, I bought one.
Yeah, that's the last thing I need. I don't need more things to buy.
That's about how I feel. Speaking of medieval times, still not on to Legions. Greg said, my wife took me there years back and got a deal where you get knighted. I have the picture of my getting knighted with a half dozen 10-year-olds. Greg, I'm not gonna lie, I'm very jealous. And so the other admins in the group chat and I have been talking about it a lot. We're getting closer and closer to fully committing to going to Legions Con, not this year, but next year. And I know for a fact that there's a Medieval Times about 20 minutes away from where they're doing it this year. So if they do it in the same place next year, I'm very much going to be lobbying for a visit to Medieval Times. Now, if that package is available at that Medieval Times, I feel like somebody may get knighted. It might not be me. I'm just saying, like, maybe we'll draw straws for sort of who gets that. But Charlie, you're absolutely right, man. Just a bunch of toy bros vibing. Yes, it's yes. How could we not, man? I just figured out. So Charlie said something about a Ren Fair, and then Greg said Ottawa area had a Ren Fair pre-COVID. Kelly said that there was one near Coburg in Ontario as well. I just realized that Ren Fair is Renaissance Fair.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's embarrassing for me. Charlie, I've also been eyeing Reptile because
damn you, Eddie.
You guys, I'll just say this and I'll leave it at this. You guys are lucky you're not in this group chat. Kelly, Knights Takeover Legions Con 2023. I mean, the
Kelly's
more the merrier. The more the merrier. I was looking at swoop flights from for me from Kelowna to Toronto. I think it's about $100 each way. And then we were gonna and then rent a van and drive down, man. I said the road trip stories will be. I said we'll do a live video from the hotel. We'll do the whole thing. It'll be awesome. Facebook user, which I can only assume is Jay, said, "Hi, did I miss anything?"
Hi, Jay.
Nothing at all. We haven't talked about Legions at all. We're just hanging out and chatting. Um, you know what? We did mention All Stars 5 for about 1 minute before I just started talking about random things. All Stars 5, the votes are in, I think, for the most part. You know, there's probably a few people. There's probably a few people that are still. No, who am I kidding? Who hasn't voted? Who like
As soon as I got the email, I was boom, vote.
I I waited. I waited because I like to watch. So I'm new, but I figured some things out. The emails come out Wednesday mornings. Wednesday early afternoon for us, late afternoon on the East Coast is 4 Horsemen o'clock, and they'll often sort of add a little something. There was no more curveballs. It was just pick 3 out of 10, and the top 3 are the winners. Who do you think? Who do you think are going to be the 3?
I think.
Or sorry, let's backtrack. Sorry, I apologize.
Okay.
You voted for Azar, you voted for Ilgar, and you voted for
Romulus.
Incorrect. Your answer was supposed to be Silverhorn Sentry, but you
I
didn't
know.
change your mind last.
I was going back and forth between him and Silverhorn, and it ended up coming down to I already have a Silverhorn Sentry. I would like more, but I already have a Silverhorn. I don't have a Romulus.
Now, when Silverhorn Sentry loses by a vote, I'm going to hold you personally accountable.
I wouldn't blame you.
I thought we'd sold you on it. You posted the pic. You were talking about it.
I was convinced after a while. Plus, I can't remember his name, but the guy who posts all the Silverhorn campaign things, Give a Flock on the Cabal.
I want to say Donald Douglas, but that could be wrong.
His name. But every time I see those, I go, God, I just want to vote for him just because of the amount of effort this guy puts into these campaign posters.
The funny thing was, like, Silverhorn Sentry is on my long wanted list.
Yeah.
But the Elf Ranger is much higher. But Xylona's Flock is my favorite faction. So there was sort of like it was on the voting in Group 1, and I gotta admit, Group 1, my absolute favorite, the figure that I would have voted for if I wasn't group voting, and if I wasn't if I was sort of voting with my heart, not with my head, would have been Balam, because I absolutely love Balam, and I would love to get another Balam. But the on the other hand, right, when sort of with my head, I think, but I only need one more Balam because I already have one, and I would very much like to have 2, maybe even 3 Silverhorn Sentries, maybe more. Who knows?
Yeah.
And so that kind of makes the most sense. But then that guy's campaigning was really good. The wordplay was fantastic.
So good.
Greg, I think you know what I mean. Greg is a writer. Greg and I sort of chat about sort of lit stuff. I mean, it was not Shakespearean or anything like that, but the Silverhorn Sentry campaigning was really, really good. And I was like, man, yeah, I gotta champion this. And so I started commenting Fortify the Flock and all that kind of stuff. Like, I got caught up in it too. But yeah, I mean, I voted with the group. That being said, I very much did everything I could to manipulate the vote, to get people to vote for the figures that I wanted them to. And thankfully 2 out of 3, I mean, Silverhorn Sentry and Elf Ranger made it. Romulus, I had to hover over that dot with my like for so long. I don't get it. I don't get it. I think he's almost a lock because he was the favorite in our poll. He's been the favorite in every poll that I've seen. I I think he has a couple things going for him. There's not a lot of Mercurians.
Yeah.
He's also from way back from the original Kickstarter and hasn't been
Actually, he's from a
released.
Coliseum wave.
I stand corrected. But that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Was never re-released. For some reason, a lot of people love that black and red deco on all figures. I'm not a black and red deco kind of guy. But when I look at All Stars 4, when I look at some of the sort of numbers that I see and some of the things that I hear and the polls and the Cabal and all that kind of stuff, it wouldn't shock me if we got Romulus and 2 skeletons. It wouldn't shock me if we got Romulus, Hagnon, Blue Glow, in brackets, Blue Glow,
Yeah.
and Ilgar. And I will just keep my fingers crossed that the tribute figures or the troll or I'm hoping for 2.0 figures or version 2.0.
Well, it's funny. Like I had this conversation with Tyler and Kelly after the last All Stars voting, and I said the next All Stars 5, was going to be so chaotic compared to All Stars 4, because back in All Stars 4, even though they were slowly fading away, you can still go on Big Bad Toy Store and get Elf Ranger, Zarya, Hagnon, etc., etc. So when some of those popped up for All Stars 4, of course they weren't going to win. You can still get them retail. But this year, they're all gone now. So a lot of people, it's funny, I've seen people get aggressive on the Cabal going, why would you vote for Elf Ranger? It's only 80 on the aftermarket. But I'm sitting there going like, well, anyone who doesn't have these figures or is just new to the line in general, like, they're just going to vote for what they want, and you can't stop them. That's fine. But it's fine. Last year, like, any of these 2.0 figures didn't stand a chance. It was never going to happen. But this year, with all those figures being sold out and all the new collectors of this line, oh, it was a toss-up. Like, when they announced the brackets after, like, I wouldn't have been surprised if Calavius or Balam made it in the first group, because look, people love Balam and a lot of people don't have them now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of brings up a good point, because I've been thinking about this as well. We have 150 people in our group, and a lot of people. I think in the vote there was probably only 30 or 40 people that voted.
Yeah.
So if you kind of think about that, like roughly 30% of people that are involved in our group voted. In the Cabal, when they have the polls, there's a few hundred people vote, but there's a few thousand people in the Cabal.
Yeah.
And the Cabal doesn't represent everybody that buys Mythic Legions, right? Like there's guys that are just toy collectors that aren't in any Facebook groups. There's maybe guys that picked one up at a local comic book shop and sort of figured out that there's a website and figured out that they could subscribe to the email and vote and on and on and on. And like you said, there's probably a lot of new collectors in the last year, maybe 2. And Advent of Decay was 2018, the Kickstarter, 2019?
I think it was 2018.
2018. I mean, as things grow, like, everybody in the Cabal is saying 1.0 is going to clean up. Do we know that?
I look at someone like King Bromden, who is like, he was in Advent Decay, and he's killing it. He's doing really well among, at least from the polls that we've seen in the Cabal.
Yeah.
One thing I want to mention was last year for the All Stars 4 voting, everyone, posted their votes in the Cabal, and it looked like it was going to go one way. But then Scaphoid came out of nowhere. And then it was found out it was the Fwoosh forums. They were going nuts for Scaphoid over there, and no one realized. So, yeah, a lot of people might look at the Cabal and go like, oh, this is how it's voting. Oh, okay, like right now, Azar isn't top 3. So if I went just by that, I'm going like, yeah, Azar won't make it. But there's all these other forms that people don't even know about that just have a lot of weight in the vote too. And
Right.
who knows, maybe you will get your Elf Ranger. You don't know what these people are thinking over there.
Plus, it's rigged, so who knows? Who knows? The Cabal said this, but it didn't happen, so it's rigged. I don't know. Whatever. Who cares? We're gonna get a bunch of figures, and it's gonna be awesome. Yeah. Anyway, let's jump into the comments here. Eddie was saying, Austin, you have some amazing pictures. I can't wait to do the video for us. Great shots by all. Yes, and Eddie is.
Thanks, Eddie.
Eddie, I mean, Eddie is in like several groups that I'm in, and like I think every day he posts a pic in every group.
Wow.
And they're not all the same. Like he's posting in the GI Joe group, he's posting in the imports group, he's posting in the Legions group. Like it's unbelievable. Miko says, I'm game. I'm pretty sure based on how old this comment is that he's talking about LegionsCon 2023. Let's do it. Let's just get a whole crew. Let's get a couple vans full. We'll leave from sort of Southern Ontario. Let's coordinate this, man. Let's get this going.
That'd be incredible.
How much fun would that be?
Oh, it'd be amazing.
It would probably be incredible to go to LegionsCon if you're just like by yourself. How much more incredible would it be to have like 30 dudes from Canada just like invade the space and make a name for ourselves? Why not? Eh? Greg said, totally. Everyone's picks always light the fire for more personal collecting mistakes. Yep.
No reptile.
Facebook user Jay. Anyone find the Andre the Bigfoot from Mattel? Please grab it for me. Jay, if I find that, I will grab it for you for sure. I don't even know what it is. But next time I'm in a store, I will be looking for it. He also said Bromden Romulus Sentry. He got 1 correct out of 3. Eddie says incorrect. I don't know what he's referring to because that's an old comment. Greg, Romulus Sentry and Grisha. Again, 1 out of 3. Could be better, could be worse. I do like Grisha. I don't like Romulus, but Banana Demon is cool too, says Facebook user. You know what? I've said this multiple times. I don't dislike the demons. I just have a lot of things on my long list, and if I had no list, then I'd be all about that, I think. But I didn't get a Zazar, and like I said, I'm not getting as a Hazar. So, but I really hope that everybody that has those 2 gets the 3rd one.
Please.
Facebook. Wait, this is a curveball because we already had Facebook user give an answer, but now we have Facebook user give another answer. Again, I will stress this. If you are watching this on Facebook and you haven't already, go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and allow us to see your picture and your name. Jay refuses to, and so I concede that to him because he said it first. Facebook user number 2, please go and do that. Romulus, Silverhorn, and Elf Sentry were my picks. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. That's what I will say. Eddie picked Elf Ranger 3 times. There was some sort of glitch, I guess. He was able to do that. Greg says, I do love the Ranger, and he does say he was my first Mythic Legions. Well, Greg, I mean, you've had him for a while. If he doesn't win, just send yours my way, and then I won't be bothered. I won't be bothered that he doesn't get in. Greg said, I'm pretty sure he's talking about Silverhorn Sentry. That campaign was really clever and well thought out. I agree. I think they did a very good job. The Blue Hagnon stuff, the Cullen Culp did a lot of really good work. I think that's kind of his jam. Like, I think he just really likes to do funny little mashups. of memes and pictures and stuff like that, and I got to give him a lot of credit. Kelly says that clear blue Hagnon pregnancy test ad was hilarious. I didn't see that one. I want to see that one. There was like multiple, like every day there was a few posts for both of those figures. And you got to give it to those guys. Like,
they're passionate.
The amount of work that they did, I really hope that they make it. I would say, and maybe it was just my feed, maybe the Facebook algorithm was sort of skewed in this way. Silverhorn Sentry, Blue Hagnon, and Azar, the campaigning for those three seemed to far outweigh the campaigning for any other figures.
Even I had to get on the Azar campaign. I was like, he has to win. I got to do something here.
Well, I didn't do any campaigning in the Cabal because I feel like that's a lost cause. For one, nobody knows who I am, so they just probably go, yeah, whatever. But in Knights of the North, I did a few, and I know that people kind of get annoyed by it, so I didn't go too hard. But it's just fun, man.
It is.
And it was just for me, it was a lot of like cutting and pasting, like resharing things that other people had done because I'm just not that creative. So, Greg said Romulus is also bare armed and legged 1.0, which does help too. Yes, but he's asymmetrical. You only get one bare arm, not two bare arms. So you can't do anything with him as far as Lazy Boy customizing. The other thing that I've noticed is that all the asymmetrical 1.0 figures, they have their right arm is armored, their left arm is bare. All they got to do is balance it out. Do two figures asymmetrical so that I can buy both and then fix it.
I've never noticed before. Huh.
Look it up. It's annoying. For somebody that is inevitably going to probably end up buying figures that I don't really love, it's very annoying because I can't do anything with them. Yes, Eddie, I don't forget that Romulus is the commander, so we need him. I disagree strongly. You know that. Facebook user who may or may not be Jay says Romulus also has a great paint job with the brown fades in the leather loincloth and blue boots. Does he though? I've seen a lot of the pictures that don't match the in-person figures. A lot of people were complaining about was it Malleus? Malleus doesn't look as weathered. I don't know that he's as faded. I did look at those boots and I did look at that loincloth and I thought, okay, maybe there's some saving grace here with this figure. If he's forced upon me, who knows?
Yeah, you never know with All Stars 2. Like someone last year did a comparison of the first release of Zazar from 1.0 Kickstarter and the re-release in All Stars 4. And the All Stars 4 one, his black tattoos all over his body were way cleaner and sharper than the 1.0. So like theoretically, if Romulus wins, he'll have a nicer paint job, but who knows? It's all QC.
Yeah, and he may, right? They may do touch-ups. There may be sort of things that get fixed from those pictures are pretty old, right? Those pictures are from the original figure. So
yeah.
Forgive me, I kind of skipped a bunch here. Facebook user says, in relation to Legions Con, everyone has to bring a moose. Wouldn't that be great if like every Canadian just like had a moose? We just walk around with an Alder figure, right? So people could just know. Here's what I will say. By then, we will... Okay, I may be speaking out of turn, but I'm going to do it anyway. We are currently working on the Knights of the North sigil. We will be doing, at the very least, t-shirts. So if we go to Legions Con, we will definitely be easily identified as a faction within the Mythic Legions world. And I'll leave it at that. I've seen the preliminary stuff. It's going to be awesome. The t-shirts are going to be great. We got some other things going on. We're talking to a few people. We got a few things in the works. I think people are really going to be pumped pumped when this stuff comes out. And I'll leave it at that. And if you don't watch this video, you'll probably never see this in comments or in posts or anything like that until it comes out. So, Kelly, Hockey Night in Canada theme starts playing as we enter Legions Con. We could probably make that happen. And really confuse people. Charlie said, this is a long comment, so bear with me. Pre-pandemic, I used to drive out to TF Con, which I believe is Transformers Con, with a bunch of dudes I met via toy groups. It was tons of fun, and never missed a year. Those same guys ended being my best men at my wedding, so I can only imagine good stuff coming from Legions Con. Yes, exactly. That's exactly the thought. That's exactly what we've sort of been chatting about in our little chat group, and you know, we're opening it up as of tonight. Mark it in your calendars. 2020, November of 2023. It's only what, 20 months away.
Save up.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, but it's Legions, so you gotta save a lot.
Save up and buy 2 figures.
Exactly. By the time you get there. But I mean, you save on all the FedEx fees that we're paying.
Oh God, don't get me started.
I got my invoice this week. I will be disputing it.
Oh, that's cool.
Adam's picks are somewhere between the Chicken Coop and the Kamloops Zoo. You're not terribly incorrect there. What else have we got? Miko says, I haven't voted yet. What?
They went to the last second.
Ghost Account says, Ghost Accounts. I have no idea who said that. It's a Facebook user, so... Facebook user who may or may not be the same Facebook user he has the right to bear arms. Yes, very clever. Alexander Kahn, you did fix your Facebook user number 2 issue. And so now we know that all the smart ass comments are coming from Jay again. That's good. Max says, is a beard or goatee Mando to be part of the Canadian contingent? No. I'll let you in on a little bit of an insight here. I'm just incredibly lazy. I don't consider myself somebody that has a beard. I just consider myself somebody that doesn't shave enough.
I trimmed mine this morning.
I trimmed mine 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, and I meant to shave it today, but I got busy, so I didn't. And so I probably won't until maybe next week. Stay tuned until next week's episode to see whether or not I do or do not shave my beard. Miko, I'm still too undecided to vote. Well, let's hash this out right now, Miko. What are your leanings? What are you thinking? We're almost at an hour, so maybe we'll just skip Cosmic, because I don't care about Cosmic as much as I maybe should. What are Miko? You're on the fence. Okay, what are your 3, 4, 5? What are you thinking about?
Well, before he even says them, I mean, I don't know if there's anyone in the group he talks to on a regular basis. Like for me, like I talk to everyone quite a bit, but obviously like Tyler and Kelly are my big ones. So like I was, ranting and raving about Ilgar earlier, going like, yeah, he's great. I vote for him. But the main reason why I vote for him was Tyler, that my brother, that's his number 1 pick. So we discussed that's his number 1 pick. Azar's my number 1 pick. So we're going to vote for each other's number 1 picks. Just to like, oh, sweet, we got 2 votes in for that guy.
Yeah, well, that was, honestly, like my my misguided attempt with the group vote was like, our group has 150 some odd people or whatever it is. It's right around 150. The Cabal is like 3,000, and that's just, and the Cabal, like we said, is just a sort of another, small group within sort of the number of legions that. So I thought, like, I'm happy to vote for Romulus or Azar or Bromden or whoever that I don't necessarily need or want, to kind of leverage the group.
Yeah.
Now, it didn't go as well as I thought it might have. But that being said, it did start a lot of great conversations. It did sort of get people engaged. It did get people commenting and posting and sort of saying, okay, here's why I think this guy is so great, which is really the point in the end,
Yeah.
I think, right? Like the whole point of the polls, the whole point of these live videos is just to get people talking. Nico and I have chatted a little bit. Austin, I didn't know you before I joined this group. I didn't know a lot of people before I joined this group, right? So it's just it's community building.
Yeah.
It's reaching out to like-minded people and sharing our interests, because otherwise we're just the weird thing is I didn't even know what a Facebook group was like before the pandemic. I was doing my thing, buying what I wanted, and here I am now doing all this stuff. So.
Like there's a lot more like community involved, especially with our Canadian groups. Like half the time when I go out and look for toys, even if it's something I don't necessarily want, I don't scalp, right? I go like, oh, well, I know someone's looking for this black suit Spider-Man. That's the Rant and Rave in the Marvel Legends groups right now. So I'm like, I'll grab an extra one and see if I can hook someone up.
Yes.
Mind you, shipping costs suck. So even when you say retail plus shipping, people don't want to pay that. But you get the odd person who goes, yeah, I'll do it.
But well, and that's just it, right? Like, I kind of look at it like retail plus shipping is retail, less effort.
Yeah.
Like I think I said this on the last video, like it's sweat equity, right? Like if you're hustling and if you're hunting and if you're finding the things that other people can't find, and still not profiting from it, right? Like if you're doing retail plus cost, and I usually like if retail's like $37, I'll go 40, and then if shipping's 18, I'll go 20. I mean, that's just me. But I know a lot of guys that do straight retail. Like they'll show you their receipts, and I'm like, man, that's bonkers. Like,
Yeah.
a couple bucks to cover like the bubble wrap that you have to buy, or the bubble mail or envelope or something. Like it just, to me, rounding
Even
up.
drive to the post office.
Yeah. That being said, I'm always honest with people. I always say like, yeah, man, I'm rounding your shipping up to $20. And I've never had somebody be like, no, I'll only pay $18.37 because that's what you pay. Fair enough. But you're right. I've had guys where like I've had something that's like with the G.I. Joe stuff, especially like last year when stuff was not easy to find. And I would do, on a like a $37 figure, $40 plus $20 to ship it. I still had guys that were like, no, I'm sorry, I don't like to pay shipping. And I was like, so you're just not going to get one for the cost of shipping? That's fair enough. I mean, I get it. I mean, everybody's got different priorities and everybody's got different sort of ways that they collect, and everybody's got different budgets and everybody's got different priorities and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, to me, that's pretty good. Anyway. Yeah. A lot of beard comments. Kelly says, we'll all shave for Legion's Con.
No.
I mean, I would, because that would give me a reason to shave. That would motivate me. So, I like this one though, Greg. We shave our beards into the shape of maple leaves. I don't know how, but would I shave that and then, yeah, maybe I could. It's not that thick on the sides is the problem for me, but I don't know.
I'd go to my barber and do like those like fine line cuts, just get
Oh
Maple Leaf in there.
yeah,
There you
yeah,
go.
yeah. The full design. The full design. Yeah, yeah. We've been neglecting Miko here. So Miko's saying I like the Rangers, Ilgar, Zazar, Vampire, Hagnon, oh man, this is a long list.
You like over half of them.
So there's
I will
10.
say with
There's
a
10
list
and he likes 7.
with a list that big, it's like you can't go wrong.
Oh,
So
but wait. And the Sentry.
there you go. But that's such a good way to have like that to be interested in all those figures because it's almost like whichever 3 win, you're going to be happy.
Yes. Absolutely. Greg, thank you for joining us. I know that it's late on the East Coast. It is not that late on the West Coast. Yeah, Miko. I mean, I guess the easiest thing to do would just be vote with the group.
Yeah.
So vote Rangers, vote Ranger, Sentry, and what was our third? Azar?
I won't disagree.
No, the group vote was Romulus, Silverhorn Sentry, and Elf Ranger. I support 2 out of those 3. But vote. I mean, vote how you want. I mean, ultimately, like, get your vote in. And I mean, the good news, like you said, Austin, like the good news for Miko is that he likes all of them.
Yeah.
Eventually. So you kind of can't go wrong. What I would say is just make sure you get your vote in.
Yeah.
For better or worse. I mean, it is what it is. He said the only ones that the only ones that out are Faustia and Grisha. I have them and don't need more. Well, I got good news for you. I definitely don't think those 2 are gonna win.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Even with like maybe the Foosh forms or something like them, I don't think they have enough backing as is.
Yeah, I still don't see it. I still don't see those 2. Those are both great figures.
Yeah.
I don't love Faustia. Grisha's cool because he's pretty unique. He or she, as Greg Shaw brought up last week.
These are 2 of the few 2.0 figures of it I don't own. So if they somehow did win, I wouldn't be too upset.
I think like I have a green glow Hagnon, but other than that, I don't have any on the list. So I'm kind of in the same situation where, like, regardless of who wins, it's probably going to be a bunch of figures that I don't have.
Yeah.
Which is great. And then I have the opportunity to either buy them or not buy them and then regret it later. Facebook user, I agree. Shipping is fine. It's FedEx. Hidden fees. Well, we'll just leave that comment at that. Yeah, that's a weird one, man. Like the fact that you get it like weeks later. I work in retail and I'm an inventory manager, and I actually talked to a couple FedEx drivers this week, and I said, so what's the deal with that? How does that work? And they said, well, it must have meant that they didn't get the paperwork onto your package in time. I said, well, I didn't say this, but I thought that's not accurate. That is a load of garbage. It is a scam because everyone that I know didn't get their paperwork.
Yeah.
It's not a random occurrence. It is a strategic ploy on FedEx's part. I haven't done it yet, but I am gonna try to pull the thing of like contacting them and saying, did you sign paperwork on my behalf that I didn't give consent for? Which I think is kind of against the rules.
Yeah. And one thing that's frustrating is back when I was started collecting, they had, I think it was USPS Priority as an option, which was the cheapest international with tracking option. So to get 1 figure shipped was, I think, 16 or 17 American, mind you. So I'll just round it up to 20. $20 Canadian. Just great. And there was 9 times out of 10, if it's just 1 figure, it wouldn't get hit of a duty fee. And if I had to pay what I call the $20 Canadian tax on it, which was shipping, I was happy.
Yeah. and U.S. Postal Service. This is the other thing: is that U.S. Postal Service has an agreement with Canada Post, where there's no like added, like when it changes hands, there's no processing fee or whatever. So Canada Post then charges, I think it's like $8 plus tax, so it's about $10 for the clearing fee, and then it's just duties and tax. But
Yeah.
FedEx, it's like $60 in fees for the like $12 that they had to collect or whatever. Like it's
Yeah.
such a scam, and it is a scam. They're so full of it. Cosmic Legions, you like them? You don't like them? Let's change gears very abruptly.
I'm a little torn on what. I love the design of them. I think they look great.
Mm-hmm.
But as a toy photographer, I need my guys for if I carry guns to do this. I don't think the figures can do that. I think they'll hold them like this or whatever, so you won't get any cool dynamic shots. However, you do have some of the ones. I can't remember her name. Actually, I got the list here. Zirian Spire, which is I'll describe her as the blue lady. She has 2 pistols, so that works fine. You have Vorga, who has carrying a big mini gun thing, so she holds it low. Those are all great. But the other thing is, I'm just running out of space. So like space and money. So it's like, can I get into another line? Probably not.
Well, and I mean, I agree with everything that you said. I mean, I can kind of forgive the articulation on Mythic Legions because there's not another line like it.
Yeah.
When I look at Cosmic, the designs are great.
Yeah.
The articulation I would be familiar with because of Mythic. But you're absolutely right. When they add, guns essentially, they just don't have the articulation to sort of pose them up, to sort of hold the weapons in the way that you kind of want them to.
Yeah.
Especially like somebody said, like especially a sniper rifle, because Zirian Spire comes with very clearly, a sniper rifle. Now, how are you going to pose her to sort of hold that?
Yeah.
Just looking at the pictures, right? Like you're seeing her holding. You can sort of see there. She's got her pistols, and so she's probably going to be a really fun figure to pose and photograph and to sort of play around with, in a lot of respects. However, I don't know that the articulation is really there for a science fiction wave. Now, if Cosmic Waves 2 sort of adds articulation, how great would that be? Because it'll probably cross over into Mythic, right?
Yeah, like if they can really show, like, for example, like this Zirian of a sniper rifle, if they have another character with a rifle, sniper rifle, whatever, and they actually made a stream or something and they show on the stream, hey, look, this figure is holding the rifle down the sights, looking down the sights, I'd be tempted at that point. I'd be very tempted.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like
the biggest thing that I can, like, based on figures that I have, it would need to have double jointed elbows. And I just don't see that happening with Mythic Legions, or Cosmic Legions, rather.
Yeah, I mean their wrists have like the horizontal articulation. They don't have vertical.
Yeah, that would need to change too.
So you can't get, like, there's certain, I don't know. We'll see. I guess it's the unfortunate. We'll see. I think a lot of people are kind of like, in that wait and see, like, holding pattern.
Yeah.
So
I kind of suspect with Cosmic Legions, you don't have to worry about FOMO too much. I think when they come out, they're going to be available through Mike, through Big Bad Toy Store for a while. You can see some reviews, see what people say, and then go from there. You don't have to pre-order because you're gonna miss out otherwise. You
Yeah.
can wait and see.
Going back to something that I said a lot earlier, I'm a massive Star Wars fan. I don't buy a lot of Black Series. Um, I do have a ton of Star Wars Lego, because I think the ship, when you're talking about space, then the spaceships,
Yeah.
become important. Um, I think the Dios for Cosmic could cross over for GI Joe for me at least. So
Yeah.
there is sort of, I could get into it in that respect. And it crosses over a little bit too for the very few Black Series figures that I have. But I think Black Series figures are just they got better articulation.
Yeah.
I'm so used to that science fiction universe, right?
Yeah.
Like they're creating a science fiction universe from scratch. I think it's a tough ask, is really what it comes down
Hmm.
to. And in some ways, it'll be like, how do these scale and how do these work with like Black Series? Because I think toy photographers, and maybe you can sort of speak to this, like
Yeah.
if they fit with Black Series stuff, like if they don't look out of place because they're either too big or sort of the paint doesn't really work properly or whatever, um, who knows? Maybe.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, if I had like a Tatooine cantina set up and I needed some aliens in the background, even if they are taller, well, like they're aliens, it could still work.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at like Oleg, right? And I spent a little bit of time today kind of looking at all the figures and sort of comparing them and sort of if they're doing um if Mythic and Cosmic are cross compatible, right? Like if this is essentially a 1.0 figure, there may be that sort of crossover sale in terms of like Lazy Boy Customs, right?
Yeah, because I look at him from the waist up. If you got
That's
a custom head, it's like that's a dragon dude right there.
Yep. And you got like that scaly back.
Yeah.
And I'm not entirely sure. I haven't looked super closely, but when I was looking at these, sorry for scrolling through these really quickly. I'm trying to find this one again. Are these the same upper legs that we're getting with Bardrick?
I don't
Like,
know.
like what I'm saying is, I think there might already be crossover in terms of parts because I know that Poxus has um, these wings. So
Oh, yeah.
they're already using certain molds uh, to sort of cross over between lines. And so I wonder, how much crossover we'll see. I also know that Kragnar and Arakagor have the same torso and upper arms, and maybe even hands, actually. I'm not certain of that, but which means that in theory, the belt sort of loin piece, like you could get a couple of these, or one of these and a couple of Arakagors and start swapping that stuff too. So
Yeah, because I look at what's his name, Ragnar, and with the exception of maybe his like the bright blue on his chest, if you took that off, he would fit in a fantasy setting easily.
mm-hmm,
Like he has cuffs on for a metal. He has a gray woolen loincloth with a big
mm-hmm,
metal belt. That's just mythic legions to me.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you can
Yeah,
pop off that bright blue, or maybe even just repaint it and give them a. Again, I'm going to go back to a dragon. Give him a dragon head.
yeah, yeah.
Boom! You got a four-armed dragon guy with, and that'd be pretty cool.
Well, I think I think when a lot of people heard that Arakagor was reusing parts. They said, well, can we do this? Can we put 4 arms on them? And they said, if you buy 2 Arachagors so that you get 4 arms, you absolutely could.
Interesting.
Now, a 4-armed dragon would be odd. I would be more inclined to put wings on him, but
Yeah.
that's just me. But wave 2, so I was just poking around in Cosmic Legions, because why not? And they're showing wave 1, or they're calling it book 1. But then I scrolled a little bit further, and there's Cosmic Legions affiliations, which are essentially the factions, right?
Yeah.
And they've revealed 3 of 10, which makes me think that there's a lot of stuff coming still. And then they go on and talk about, a lot more stuff. But which really is to say, I think there's going to be some good stuff. If you're a Mythic Legions fan, I think at some point there's going to be at least a couple figures that you see and go like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. I'll grab that either for fodder, or it draws you into the line, or whatever.
Yeah.
But who knows? I haven't been drawn in yet. There is a couple figures in there, but I'm holding out. We'll see.
Yeah, again, like I don't think these are going to be selling out right away anyway. So like when they come out, like I'm going to be watching reviews, see what people say. Mm-hmm. I already know, like I'm going to say this with confidence. No matter what, if I decide to collecting, I'm not going to get every single one.
I think we all say that all the time.
I know.
Yeah, I think that's all I got for Cosmic.
Yeah.
But we do have a whole bunch of stuff still coming. We do have a lot of waves coming. The next wave that should be released is going to be Alethea. And then we have the Deluxe Legion Builders. We have the War of Arethyr wave. We have the Poxus wave. What are your top, let's do top 3 most anticipated figures upcoming.
Yeah, let's see. I'd say from third to first, I'd say third is the Deluxe Elf Builder, the male one specifically. I mean, I'd be happy with both, but if I could only have one, it'd be the male.
Sure.
I regret not pre-ordering more. I only got one male, one female.
Yeah.
And because there's just so many options. You can change the shoulders, the loincloth, the waist. Look at all those heads.
Yeah. And that's the bonus head. That Whisperling Elf is the bonus head, which is if you ordered it from Mike 3 Collectibles, that's the bonus head. So there's like the first release gets you sort of the full kit plus that sort of bonus head, which I think is like a Lord Adon head.
I think so. Like this one looks to be smirking, and I don't own Lord Adon. He's actually in the mail. He's on the way.
He's great.
But I don't remember Lord Adon smirking, but maybe it's just from the angle. It looks like this head's smirking to me.
I take that back. I think it's what's the shadow elf? Malachi.
Oh, Malachi Cinderhorn.
Yeah, I think it's his head.
Oh, that one makes sense. Actually, I got him right beside me. I'm going to take a look.
Has he got a smirk in that eyebrow?
Let's see. I just had the picture up. Yep, that is other way. There we go.
There he is. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's him.
Clearly that one. Not Lord Aiden. Which makes sense because we already have a Lord Aiden head, so why would you want another elf one? It makes more sense to pull it from the Shadow Elf.
Yeah, so that way you have it side by side. They don't look identical.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Like you get 2 chests, 2 sets of pauldrons, 2 of the loincloths, tons of weapons and accessories and all the heads. Um, the great thing about this is that you can start kind of swapping and kit bashing, lazy boy customizing a lot of figures just by
Yeah.
adding this stuff. Both this and the female elf. You could really, really, really elaborate on sort of a Xylonus flock army. And the orcs are fantastic as well.
Oh, absolutely.
And what you get with them too, like I think specifically, like the female orc, if anybody's out there, I mean, there's probably some people, but I think a lot of people already know this. Don't sleep on this one. You get, a full upper. So you get, torso, arms, hands. You also get extra feet. So you can do like the bear orc feet or the armored orc feet. But again, like 2 sets of pauldrons, 2 of the belts, lots of accessories, plenty of weapons. If there's a specific weapon that you like for kit bashing or customizing, every one of the weapons is in one of those deluxe, builder kits.
Yeah.
And then I very recently caved and got the that 2-pack as well. I don't love knights, but I thought I'm gonna kick myself if I don't get this, and then everybody's raving about it. That's a pretty cool looking figure.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the CJ capes too.
Yeah, fully wired. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was honestly the pictures that just didn't do it justice. I think it's going to look a lot better in hand than it does. Like, that's hard to believe because it looks fantastic in the photos.
Yeah.
But I think in hand it's going to look even better than it does. Or in hand? Did I say in hand? In hand, it's going to look better than it does in the photos, I think. And I love too that you get like the different heads. So you get the unhelmeted head, and then you get different faces as well. So you do get
really clever how they did this one.
Yeah, for sure. So you can kind of swap out the sort of the smiling kind of courtly head for sort of the angry action head. Great for photographers for sure.
I was about to say 100%. It's hard sometimes to put some of these characters I have in like a fighting pose because they're just like blank faced.
Yeah. I actually heard someone speculating. Now they don't know because I don't think it's out there, and I don't think anybody besides 4 Horsemen would know this. But Gorgo's always been like an unknown, like what race or like where he comes from or anything like that, and people were kind of looking at the figure and saying like, yeah, it's pretty cool, it's got some pretty cool stuff. But when you go to the accessories, there's a whole lot less with Gorgo. And there was some people speculating like, well, what if he comes with an unhelmeted head and they just don't want to show it?
That'd be pretty cool, but personally, I don't know. I look at Gorgo and it has a Master Chief from Halo effect. It's like I don't want to see what's underneath the helmet. It's part of his allure. You never know.
I'm not gonna lie, as a sort of a G.I. Joe fan, that's how I feel about Snake Eyes as well. I don't really want to see his face. I don't want to know his backstory either. Sometimes mystery just works better.
Yeah.
Sometimes not knowing is kind of more fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was your number 3. My number 3. That was your number 3, right?
Yep.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't remember. we chatted about the whole wave now, so we'll move on from there. My number 3 is Alder, the moose.
Oh.
And the weird thing is that was the the very first thing that I decided I wanted for Mythic Legions. And I decided that I wanted it for completely unrelated to Mythic Legions reasons. I wanted it for a mount, for a custom GI Joe mountie. And then I've talked about this far too much, but I'm really excited for Alder. I think that's a really, really unique and really, really cool thing. And I think once that thing comes out, people are going to start seeing it on the Fwoosh or in different groups like GI Joe groups when people put GI Joes on them. In the same way that people saw Balius and people were like, what is this company that's coming up with these like amazing steeds?
Yeah.
I think Alder is going to be fantastic. I think in hand it's going to just blow people away. I think it's going to be huge. And I think that I think a lot of people are kind of not, I don't think people are sleeping on Alder. I think people are just sort of like, well, I don't know that I need a giant moose on my shelf.
That's kind of where I was at because he's going to take up a lot of real estate.
Mm-hmm. He is. And I can't help but think that it's warranted.
I will say, like, especially like because I was talking about earlier being in BC and how it's great for outdoor photography. Like taking a moose out
A
into the
moose
woods.
in nature? Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's one of the two figures I don't have pre-ordered from that wave, and now it's quickly turning into I'll just pre-order the rest and just
What's the
deal
other
with
one?
it. The centaur guy, whose name escapes me, Farius, I think.
Yeah, I don't have him either, but
It was the exact same reason. It was just he's going to take up too much room.
yeah, he's gonna be really, really big. He's gonna take up a lot of room. But again, I feel like I'm gonna be kicking myself if I don't get him.
Yeah.
Yep, I'll do the moose. Great looking figure. What's your number two?
My number two is from the Poxus wave, and it's Azahazar.
Okay.
Right. One big reason is I played a lot of World of Warcraft back in the day, and he just screams Burning Legion to me. Which, if you're unfamiliar with World of Warcraft, that's like the demon army.
Okay.
Um, Plus, I'm like not super into Mythic Legions lore. I usually have my own head canon,
Mm-hmm.
but I love the lore of Azar and Zazar and how they were one and they got split, and now Poxus is back and put them back together. I just love that. And plus, I saw the reveal for him on the live stream, and the way they came up with his color scheme was super clever. Like they came up with green because they put blue and yellow together. What do you get? Green, and then of course purple to contrast that. It looks it looks awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't disagree. The like ultimately for me, what it came down to was I couldn't get everything, and the
Yeah,
demons just didn't make the cut. But the dark green with sort of the lime neon green, four horns. I love too the deco on Azar and Zazar, how they had sort of the painted lines.
yeah,
They've actually sculpted that onto Azahazar.
yeah. Like
So it's not
it's so
lines.
good.
It's like it's phenomenal. Like it is a really great looking figure. Um, and the accessories that he comes with are great. The magic effects, the kind of flaming fists, if you will.
Yeah,
The staff that he comes with the yellow and the blue, like you were saying, like
yeah.
the Azar Zazar sort of combination thing. That staff looks fantastic. He's
So
still
cool.
hoofed, which is great. They didn't sort of lose that. And he's an ogre scale, so he's gonna be huge.
Oh yeah,
Plus
yeah.
the
I
plus
own
the
it.
soft goods. Like that's I mean
Oh,
those
that
soft
too.
goods are gonna be great too. So.
Like I own two ogre scale figures, and it's like you don't realize how big they are until they're in your hand.
And I don't have one yet. Um, I got sort of my first preliminary Poxus order in, and then I was like, maybe I'll add that Rakagor. I didn't have a Rakagor initially, and then I was like, I missed the ogres up till now.
Yeah.
There's two available in the Poxus way. I didn't want the vampire one. I thought that was uh, for whatever reason. So I had to put a Rakagor in my order, so that he'll be my first ogre scale figure. But yeah, no, the Azahar is a great pick, and I think that's going to be a great figure. And I think, you know, I may regret not getting that one.
Well, that's half the reason why I'm like, vote Azar, because I got Zazar, I'm getting Azahar. On top of that, what a lot of people don't know is Vorgus Vermilius, the blood armor from 1.0.
Yeah.
He was created by Azar and Zazar.
Yep.
So, and I have Vorgus Vermilius now, so it's like, okay, that's another trio I want to finish. So, vote Azar.
Number two, I mean, it's hard because there's so many good ones. But I'm gonna go Poxus and I'm gonna go Tharnog.
Yeah, he looks good.
In the same way that Arakagor was of interest to me because he was ogre scale. I looked at this figure and I thought that, oh man, how cool is this orc shaman? All the other orcs are bad guys.
Yeah.
He's the exception. He's got horns. He's got fur. He's got his staff. He's got like matted dreadlock beard with beads and things like that. And then you add the magic effects, and then you add the second head, and then you add that he's brute scale. Come on, so cool.
Yeah, like he looks phenomenal, and plus, if I remember correctly, brute scale, that's like obviously bigger than their normal scale, but smaller than ogre. It was in the in between.
Yeah.
So like I like that idea of a scale a lot. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the ogre scale figures, but it can be a little overwhelming trying to find space for them. I think brute scale would be a bit more comfortable squeezing them in, and they will still have a presence on the shelf.
Yes, yeah, that's kind of how I thought too. Is that like the ogre scale is going to be overpowering? So when I looked at the, like just to sort of go on a tangent about ogre scale, I looked at the half giant in the deluxe Legion builders.
Yeah,
I'll probably end up getting it because the price point's right, but but I don't love the idea of a half giant. I'd rather have an ogre. I'd rather have a dragon. I'd rather have, Azahar, like the sort of the combined demon. The sort of human skin toned giant doesn't really appeal to me. So it was either that or the vampire, and they neither appealed to me. So, but then the brute scale was like less obvious of a oversized scale, I guess, in some way.
Yeah, I can see that.
In the same way that like I don't need 10 trolls, right? Like it would be weird to just have like this overpowering shelf full of giant figures, but
yeah.
But anyway. This just in. Miko has voted. I voted a group except Romulus, who I think will win easy. He does not need my help. Went Azar instead.
My man.
Austin, I think you sold him on it. Good job, buddy. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not upset by that. Miko also said I don't get the antlers on Gorgo personally. For me, it's Zylona's Flock feature. I kind of feel that way about all the figures that have. Like, I wish there was a couple things that were a little bit more specific to certain factions. I like Zylona's Flock because the color palette is really great. The black and red always makes me think of Arethyr. So when figures are black and red, but they're not Arethyr, it seems odd to me. But in the same way that, yeah, I would agree with you, Miko. I think like the horns, but I mean, then you have wings on a bunch, and you have sort of different things. I don't know. That's a tough one, but. Miko also said he's going to be great, that Centaur. Yeah, I mean, don't remind me that I don't have him on.
I might cave. I'm trying to hold strong. I don't need every figure in a wave.
Facebook user, I think this is Jay because I'm pretty sure that this is the case. I haven't ordered Pox's wave yet. I think it's going to be a great wave, but it's a long ways out still.
Yeah.
Miko says, I think I'll get all the full waves from here on out. It's probably not a bad idea. It's been, the argument has been made to me that if you just get the whole wave and then sell off the ones that you don't love, you still come out ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely do. Like, I've never seen anyone sell even brand new Mythic Legions for retail, even if it's just a few bucks more.
Yeah. Facebook user, which I know is Jay because I've seen Jay's face. Tharnod looks like me. You're not wrong, Jay. I'm not gonna argue with you on that. All right, let's wrap this up with number ones. Who's your number one top pick, or do you want me to go first?
How about you go first? I'm curious.
Okay, wait. Let me pop this off so that I can find it before I sort of reveal it.
Do a drum roll.
The weird thing about this one is that it is a somewhat unassuming figure in some respects, because it's he's not one of the wilder ones. He's not a furry. He's not anything sort of that wild. He doesn't have, like, he's in a lot of ways just kind of plain. But that's part of the reason that flies back. That's part of the reason.
How about this? Before you reveal, I want to take a guess.
Go for it.
Okay. Based on your love for Zylona's Flock, I think it's going to be from the Lithia wave.
Okay.
And based on your description, because I'm hyped for him too, I'm going to guess Lord Bardrick.
He's in my top 5.
Okay.
He's not my most anticipated figure. My most anticipated figure, believe it or not, is Samir Scrollwarder.
Oh, really?
The perfect encapsulation of a wizard.
Yeah, classic.
He's so classic. To the point of being boring almost in some ways. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I think within the wave, he's kind of one of those figures where people go like, well, I'm getting all in, so I'll get him. Yeah. I think it's a fantastic figure. I love that he is sort of the stereotypical wizard. I also love the CJ Jessam wired cape and full wired robe. So the sleeves on this figure are wired. So if you have, if you're posing the wizard as though he's like throwing some sort of magical effect, you can effectively like shape his sleeve to sort of trail the hand.
Yeah.
Like, I think this figure is just going to look, again, because Trevor only gets, the sample. He gets the resin cast figure. He doesn't get like a production figure. He can't pose it as well as he probably would like.
Yeah.
I think this figure is going to be so dynamic in hand. I think it's just going to be so much fun. The magic effects, Again, the wizard staff, his little book, his belt, so much cool stuff going on with this figure.
I love his alternate head.
Yes. Yeah, with the sort of the energy lines and the different eyes and everything. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
The alternate heads with this wave, I think, are just such a great idea. The magic users having sort of the sort of dynamic heads, I think is like a massive step forward.
Oh, absolutely. Like I think it was Arazak, he the other wizard for
Yep.
on the Poxus side of things. I think he has an angry head. Like his
Yes.
beard is flowing and looks like he's casting something or just cast something. And that's again back to toy photography. That's the kind of stuff I'm looking for.
That head there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is like Mike from E Collectibles. This is his favorite figure of the wave.
He was I only pre-ordered a handful of figures from this wave, and he was very happy this was one of them.
Yeah. That's a great figure for sure. Again, great soft goods, fully wired, 2 heads, tons of magic effects, extra hands. I love that magic users come with extra hands too, because like if you're a magic user and you just have the kind of like this hand, it's like, oh, magic.
Yeah,
it wouldn't make sense. I think it's great that we're getting the hands in these. So
absolutely.
That's my number one. What's your number one?
Well, it's from the same wave.
Oh,
it's a bit on the opposite end of the spectrum from Samir. This one is I would even describe him as he's loud. Like you look at him and go, and he catches your eye.
Do I get to guess?
By all means.
Okay, so he's from Poxus.
Yep.
And he catches your eye. You know what? I'm down to Poxus or Calazir. Or a rack of, I don't know. I mean, that's
I know there's a lot to catch your eye. It's an amazing wave.
Well, and there's so much new stuff. There's so many new parts. And I mean, I'm coming in late, and so I didn't realize how many new parts there were, both with like a Lithia wave and with this wave.
Yeah.
Your top favorite figure. Poxus? Final answer.
Calazir.
Okay. Sell me on this figure, because I know that there's a lot of people that are really excited by this. I like that it's brute scale, so it's new, it's different. It's a genie, so it doesn't it doesn't. This is what didn't sell me on Calazir. He doesn't fit into sort of the factions, as I'm sort of new and I'm just sort of building factions. I didn't know where to place him on a shelf.
So one of the reasons, so again, like for one, he's just extremely eye-catching. Like yes. He has so much going on. He's the brute scale. That bright blue skin. His jewelry is just, oh, I love the jewelry. Like his necklace, the fact that he comes with a lamp as well is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue that his sword is the coolest sword in the whole line.
Yes, very unique, very badass. The dragon sort of breathing flame over the blade. Yeah.
And from pulling from like World of Warcraft and The Witcher, which have they have djinn and genies and all that. They go for more, they don't go for the Aladdin approach. It's not Robin Williams, and laughing all the way. It's they're evil, they're sinister, they're tricksters. So like I look at him and go, like, okay, he's working with Poxus, but Poxus is probably a means to an end. He has his own goals. So in terms of where does he fit on a display, like, yeah, he can go with your Poxus figures if you have them, but I feel he's more standalone.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of like the perfect counter to like what I said, where like he could be, he could fit into sort of any shelf in a way because he is
Mhm.
so unique and he's sort of a standalone. A genie doesn't have to have a faction, I guess is
Yeah,
what. Yeah,
exactly. So like I figure like if things were going well with Poxus, if he had the opportunity, he'd jump over to Arethyr and just be like, "Oh, hey,
right.
yeah, let's make a team." But he's just working towards his own means to an end. Whether or not that's his actual lore, I don't know. But
Mhm.
I look at a genie, and that's the kind of thing I think of. They're interested in one thing, and that's themselves.
That's that's a great pick. I mean, that's we're all such enablers.
I know.
um Facebook user says he's a gypsy. Yeah, I mean, I guess, but like,
I'm
yeah,
all
I,
for
I,
it.
I agree with you too, though, Austin. Like, he kind of has no faction. He's kind of his own thing, and whoever has the lamp, right? You could also sort of say that, um,
That too.
even if one of the good factions were to find the lamp and sort of use him for good, right? Like,
Hmm.
who knows? You could really sort of do anything you want with him in your head, certainly in your head canon.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
but the Four Horsemen could do anything with him, sort of within canon. So we'll see. Charlie agrees. Definitely coolest sword. Charlie also said, "I stepped out for a bit. Did I miss the talk about popping the centaur body off and putting the orc, shaman, or djinn? You absolutely could, because he is the same brute scale. Part of the reason that the centaur appeals to me so much is for that reason. Like, I don't want to
Oh,
miss out on that
Lord.
body. I may end up not always using that body on that body, the horse body. I mean,
One thing I really want to do with Calazir is I don't know, maybe someone will make one, you can 3D print one or something. But I want to do like a lower half be a vortex, like coming out of the lamp and all that.
yes.
Yeah,
Um, from a photography perspective as well, Charlie said the lamp on its own is a great prop for photography. Could use him as a Power Ranger Super Sentai baddie of the week too. Solid choice. I absolutely agree. Um, what I would say is there's really no bad choices. There are so many great figures coming out,
oh yeah.
between Alithia, which is coming next, um, Deluxe Legion Build. We didn't even pick anything from Deluxe Legion Builders, but there's some great figures in there for Legion
Yeah.
building. Um, just so much good stuff. The War of Aether wave looks fantastic. There's a lot of good stuff in there too, as far as kit bashing, as far as like headcanon stuff. The Poxus wave, oh, so much cool stuff, so much unique stuff, so much different stuff.
It was funny when that wave was first announced and they started doing reveals. I hated it.
Really?
Yeah, and it's excuse me. The reason was is because I have a good chunk of Poxus stuff, and I was obsessed with the Dark Elves. I thought they were the coolest thing. So I'm like, yes, a wave of Dark Elves. Didn't get a single one. So it left a bitter taste at first. I was like, I can't get behind this wave. There's no Dark Elves. But then you actually start looking at them. I'm like, okay, no, this wave's pretty badass.
Yeah. Um, on that note, a Facebook user says all three of my choices are from the Legion Builder. So go figure, right? Like everybody's got their different favorites, but
He's picking every single one with a beard.
well, yeah. If it looks like him, he wants it. So.
Yep.
But on that note, we're creeping up to 2 hours
Oh
now.
goodness.
I think we're gonna call it a night. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you, Austin, for joining me.
Yeah, no problem.
Um, have a wonderful weekend, guys. Thank you and good night.
Good night, everyone.